welcome to another episode of Georgie's Stripping the Dipping podcast. I'm your unusual co-host, F1 Blag. And today, when I say we have a special guest, we have a special guest. We have a member of the FIA's World Motorsport Council. So without any further ado, Jan Stovicek, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm very fine. Thank you very much for your invitation.
Lovely to have you. I mean, wow, World Motorsport Council, what a prestigious body to be a member of, and what a time, the last 2 years, you've not been short of decisions to make. So fantastic. Lovely to have you. So Jan, tell us a bit about yourself. You know, there might be listeners out there that know about the World Motorsport Council. They might know about GT3, etc., but they don't know about you. So how would you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Okay, so first thing I have to say, I am a lawyer by profession, and I am specialized in sporting law. So I was doing a lot of work in sporting law matters like anti-doping and disciplinary, etc. And I have been judge of the FIA International Court of Appeal for almost 20 years, and I was the chairman of the FIA Anti-Doping Commission for a good 10 years. And currently, I'm president of the Czech ASN, the Czech National Automobile Club. And for last 2 years, I'm member of the FIA World Motorsport Council. And previously, I was also active in motorcycling movement. I was a member of the management council of the International Motorcycling Federation, because our national club is an umbrella for both automobile and motorcycling sport. So that's me in few words.
I mean, I think if you were applying for a job, you just got the job. Like, incredible, all those achievements and accolades.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure with that, but thank you very much.
You must have a real passion for motorsport to be involved for so long. So, I mean, can you remember your first motorsport memory? What do you remember?
Actually, that's a very good question. I appreciate that very much. I remember as a very, very young kid that there was a neighbor in the city I lived in, and he owned a go-kart, and it was, I think, like a homemade, very primitive go-kart, but it was exciting. It had an engine and it had a gear shift. So I remember as a small boy, I was using this go-kart and I enjoyed it very, very much. So this is my first memory for motorsport or motorism. And I think I could be like 4 or 5 years of age that time. So that was the beginning.
That's the sort of age that, Fernando Alonso or Ayrton Senna are first putting their hands on a wheel. So
yes.
Do you remember sort of watching motorsport? What was the sort of series that you may have watched as a child growing up?
It's quite interesting because when I try to remember that, there was a kind of development, because there were a few years I was very keen in Formula One. Later, I found the cars not interesting, and I was watching the motorcycling races, like the MotoGP or the Grand Prix races of motorcycling. Then I was keen in off-road racing, like Dakar. So when I try to figure out all these years, I can say that it was like changing. After a few years, I was changing the discipline. So I passed almost through all the motorsport disciplines. But in general, I must say, of course, I'm keen motorsport enthusiast, and of course.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense given where you've ended up as well. I mean, was there a driver or a driver or a team that you particularly loved when you were younger?
For sure, I was very keen in Formula One teams, the old times, like John Player's Special Lotus cars, and obviously I was a big fan of Ayrton Senna and Niki Lauda in the old years, and then I was of course supporting Michael Schumacher. So I think nothing substantially different from idols of many people of my age.
No, I mean, yeah, those John Player Special Lotuses were classic, sort of beautiful cars, and yeah, of course, Michael Schumacher becoming at the time the most dominant driver, and of course, you've got a legal background. We interview people who are in motorsport from many different backgrounds, and lots of them are in, I don't know, the media side or the engineering side. But what inspired you to go down the path of law?
Well, I was when I finished the secondary school, I was just thinking about which way to go. My parents both are medicine. So I tried to follow them, but I was not very successful. I'm not really talented for natural sciences, so that showed to be not possible. And then the choice was quite easy, because at the age of 18, 19 years, I was not really sure what to do all my life, and I decided to go for something which is quite universal. And this is the advantage of studying law. If you have a law degree, you can do a lot of professions. You can be a very good manager. You can work, for some government authorities. You can be an attorney. You can be a judge, whatever. So I decided to study law, because I was telling myself, maybe I can really focus and specialize on some particular profession later on. So this is the good thing on studying law.
Like an extremely strategic decision to have made at 18. I hate to think, before we started, I was just reminiscing. I think I was probably 18 when I went to the Czech Republic, but I definitely wasn't planning my career. So,
that was exactly the same way of thinking, because I was not really sure what to do. So I said, okay, I have to study something, but something which will leave me the choice opportunity for later. And if you have a law degree, you can really still you gain some time to select the profession you would like to do.
And you kind of like fast forward, you've now been in the sort of motorsport administration world. I don't know what you call it, motorsport governance, maybe, for some time. What was your first job in motorsport? Were you a driver before that? I know that I can see on Google you've got some GT3 drives in there as well. How does that all fit in?
Yeah, well, I would rather say not an administration, but governance, because there is a clear difference in organizations like the FIA or the FIM, because obviously you have elected people who are supposed to govern the organization. For example, the members of the World Motorsport Council, and then you have the administration, which essentially is the people who are employed to implement the decisions of the governance. That I think is quite important difference. So I would rather consider myself as a member of the governance. And before I started to drive in GT3, I passed through a motorcycle rider career. I was not really a very, very successful motorcycling rider, but I spent good, I would say, like 8 years racing in a series of motorcycle road racing on a national level and also on European level. And I was majority of these years I was just a hobby rider, not really winning the championships, but I enjoyed that a lot. And in a certain age, I realized that it really hurts when you crash on the motorcycle, and this is why I changed to cars, because the difference between crashing in a motorcycle race and the car race is that on motorcycle it's painful, but it's not so expensive, and in cars racing it's not so painful, but it's much more expensive to pay the damages. So this is why I decided to change for cars and race in GT3, which was great. I just enjoyed that, and that was really the path to the motorsport. And I'm very glad I have this experience from GT3 racing. Is great series. You can drive in this category.
Yeah, it must help you as you govern or participate in the governance of sport. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, it's interesting that you said your parents were in the medical profession. My dad was a doctor, and I remember growing up, he basically forbid me from ever going on two wheels. He just said he's seen too many people in the emergency room that have been on a bike. So good decision. I mean, prudent decision going on to four wheels. And yeah, absolutely.
Yes, definitely. yes. No, I had to start actually even the motorcycling career. I had to start later. When I was at the university, I think, which was obviously too late to be really a very good motorcycling rider, because my parents would never allow me to do the two wheels. You are right.
Code of children of doctors. We have a certain childhood. There we go. Well, look, you got into motorsport governance, and today you're on the World Motorsport Council. I'm sure you can't tell us everything about it, but what is your role on the council? What is the objective of the council?
Well, I would say that, as you said before, there is a lot of decision making, and the World Motorsport Council, as the highest decision making body, has to decide. I would say two types, or to accept two types of decision. First, it's concerning regulations. I would say that there is a lot of regulations that must be approved by the World Motorsport Council. And as you can imagine, the regulations develop very quickly every year, even several times, and it's necessary, of course, to approve all these regulatory changes, for which there is, of course, the FIA administration preparing all the background and all the information for the World Motorsport Council to take the decision. And the second type of decision concerns the strategy, the future. Which way the FIA would go, which way the motorsport would go, and this is really exciting because it's something which is creative, and there is obviously an opportunity for the World Council members to present their ideas and their thoughts on the strategy. And this is, I would say, this is really the exciting part of the fact being the World Motorsport Council member.
Absolutely. So, I mean, presumably at some point you're going to opine on the 2026 regulations. Is that right, for Formula One, just for example?
Obviously, the future regulations, any regulations of Formula One are to be approved by World Motorsport Council. So the answer is yes.
Wow. I mean, it's really interesting because there's quite a broad group of people on the World Motorsport Council, and I'm sure they all have different opinions. Do you ever find, I know that these board meetings can sometimes be a bit dry, but do you ever find that you have disagreements with your fellow council members and different objectives, or do you find consensus?
Well, you know, it's as you say, it's quite a big group of people with different views and coming from different cultures. And by the way, it's not only about Formula One. I know that Formula One is the pinnacle of the sport, but there is really a lot of disciplines, very exciting on various levels of the motorsport, and there are dozens of championships within the FIA. So there is a lot of more to decide than Formula One. I would not limit it only to this, although I know it's very attractive. And as for the consensus, obviously there are different opinions, but there is a discussion. And I think this is fair and this is democratic. We have a discussion, we exchange our views. And at the end, obviously, we try to find a consensus and a decision that is supported by, if not all, then a huge majority of the World Motorsport Council members. And I must say that we are quite successful in reaching such consensual decisions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, a decision has to be made, and you make it. So, I mean,
yes.
Just for example, would you make decisions on changes to the sporting regulations of different genre of motorsport?
Sure. The sporting regulations are to be decided by any changes of the International Sporting Code, for example, must be decided by the World Motorsport Council. Regulations of disciplines, of all the codes of the FIA. There is a lot of codes. Maybe you know that every year there used to be a very huge booklet issued. Now it is only electronic, but it's really maybe several hundreds, maybe several thousands of pages of regulations, which is necessary when you imagine all the scope of the FIA and all the disciplines and championships and technical regulations and medical code and disciplinary code, etc. So all these crucial regulations must be approved by the World Motorsport Council.
Okay, that makes sense. And you were, I think, a former board of directors member for the FIM, which is on the motorcycle side. Is that right?
Exactly, that's it.
And so, like, I don't know, I can't imagine how you brought this together, but am I right in thinking you chaired the first meeting between the FIA and the FIM together, a committee meeting?
Yes, it's just to explain how exactly this originated. I was for 4 years. I was member of the board of directors of the FIM, and then we were successful as the new governance team in the FIA World Motorsport Council election. And in that time, I decided to step off the FIM board of directors, because really being in both would be too much. But my belief is that there is a lot of common issues that are shared, and common challenges and common problems shared by these two sister federations, the FIM and the FIA. And I initiated creation of this cooperation committee between the FIA and FIM, and I was lucky enough to get support of both presidents, the FIM president George Vegas and the FIA president Mohammad Ben Suleym. And we created this committee, which is composed one half members of the FIM governance and administration, one half of the FIA members of governance and administration, and I have the honor to be the chairman of this committee. And this is something which is really exciting for me, because as you can imagine, issues like safety issues, medical issues, technical issues, circuit homologation issues, EDI issues, women in motorsport, sustainability issues. There is a lot of things which are common for both federations, and they can share their experience. So I think this is a good way to go.
It makes a lot of sense, and I'm actually surprised that you've created this innovation in 2023 or in recent years. It's the sort of thing you'd imagine happened a long time ago. So on circuits, for example, do both bodies accredit circuits and the safety, and or is it more FIA that accredits the circuit?
No, it's more both federations who accredit and we say homologate the circuits for safety standards. And the problem is that for decades both federations have different standards for safety. So what we now effort to do is to some way harmonize this approach, because what happened in the past was that there was a new circuit built in Asia, for example. There were a few examples of that, and that circuit was homologated by the FIM, for example, to host a MotoGP event. So it was fine from the FIM point of view. And later on, the owners of the circuits wanted to organize an FIA event, and it showed up that it's not possible because it's not fitting the FIA rules for homologation of the circuit. So our objective now is to homologate the circuits during the construction and engineering of the circuit immediately, so that it fits to both FIA and FIM purposes. And I think once a new circuit is built, it should be built not only for motorcycles, or not only for cars, but for both. So we would like to make a harmonization in that aspect.
Yeah, it feels like it would save money as well for the track owner, or make the tracks more accessible for
sure.
all sorts of motorsport, and hopefully raise revenue.
For sure.
I mean, I used to watch MotoGP in the days of Max Biaggi and Valentino Rossi, but I must say, right, it's a classic era. But maybe I just have, since I've had children, haven't had as much time. So I'm a sort of avid Formula One fan, and often, you hear people in the sort of fan community of Formula One saying, well, track limits, why don't we just put a gravel trap up to the edge of the circuit, and then if they go off, then they lose time, but but clearly there's a consideration on the motorcycle side. Is that something, that does it make it harder to produce a Formula One track that's easier to, let's say, administer during the weekend and manage track limits? Is it harder to do that if you're considering all of the different types of motorsport that need to run on a circuit?
Well, I think nowadays also in MotoGP you have a lot of track limits issues, and there is a system. Dorna has a system of I think they use I don't know how many, maybe dozens or maybe 100 of cameras everywhere on the circuit, and I know that the race direction has in every race many track limits issues. It's similar like in Formula One, but there are some people, like as you say, that they would prefer to have a gravel just behind the track limit line. But I think this is the trend and a safety issue, because for motorcycles especially, the gravel is quite dangerous, because there could be crashes and injuries, etc. So essentially the trend is in new circuits to have this tarmac runoff areas. And that's as it is now, and we have to follow the track limits, and maybe we will find a solution for this, but I don't think it will come back to the old times, to the era of gravel traps just behind the line because of the safety.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, in terms of homologating circuits, and you talked about new circuits in Asia, and certainly since I've been watching Formula One, particularly Asia and the Middle East, there's been a huge growth in the number of circuits at that kind of A rating that can host sort of top events. But yet, if you look at other continents like Africa, they're still, developing, and they haven't got as many circuits. Is the FIA active in trying to really globalize motorsport? Is there any initiative at all to try and support, for example, Africa to get more top-level circuits?
Definitely, we support growing up and development of the sport in all the regions, and we would like to have also strong motorsport in Africa or South America or in all the continents. But as you can imagine, especially the financial possibilities of international federation are quite limited, so we cannot really afford to build up a new circuit. That's not in our possibilities. But we have, for example, sporting development grants in the FIA to support project, to support preparation of the circuits, etc., to support development of motorsport. But the fact is that motorsport is expensive. This is something we are fighting with for decades, and we try to make the motorsport affordable and accessible for everybody. But this is very, very difficult. And of course, you can see the building new circuits in Asia or in Middle East. Because the economic power is different than in Africa. That's unfortunately matter of fact, and I can imagine that it's very difficult to collect sufficient funds in Africa to build up a new circuit. So we can help the development of motorsport, but as the international federation, and I think you understand, we cannot afford to build up a new circuit there. That's unfortunately not possible.
I completely understood. I mean, obviously, I have a bias towards Formula One, but there are other formula. For example, you talked about a love of off-road racing, and there's obviously the World Rally Championships as well, which perhaps needs administration, but it doesn't need a circuit. Do you find in your current role on the World Motorsport Council that sort of rally also comes on your agenda at all?
Of course, it's. I would say it's besides of the circuit sport, it's the most important discipline, and the second pinnacle of motorsport, the World Rally Championship. By the way, we will have next week the World Rally Championship event, a Central European Rally in our country. So currently, I'm working very hard on preparations. I think this is very important championship, and also on regional and national level, and also in Africa. There is a lot of teams and drivers and events in all the continents, and as you say, it's not so demanding as for the logistics and infrastructure. And also what is very growing or a strong discipline now, quickly growing, is the rally rate. championships, which especially in Africa and Middle East are very strong, and I think very attractive and more attractive for public. So maybe this is the way to go, as you say. In some countries or continents and regions where the economy is not strong enough to build Formula One A-grade circuits, there is a space for development of the off-road sport for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, and I can see that there has been a Kenya rally this season. So yeah, we record this on the eve of the Central European Rally, which I can see is running in Germany, Austria, and Czech Republic. And it says that it's set to be run on tarmac. Is that right, or is it a run on a mixture of surfaces? It's always fascinating to me.
Yeah, this is a tarmac rally actually, and I'm very glad we can have it because our country is a rally country, and we have a lot of really crazy fans in our country, and we can expect a big crowd for this rally, and it's a historic event actually. It's a historic event for our country because we never ever had a WRC event in our country. This is for the first time, and it's a dream of generations to have a WRC event in Czech Republic. So now we have it finally. Wow. And also from the international point of view, it's for the first time that three countries, three national ASNs, three clubs may unite to organize a WRC event. This never happened before. There are some rallies which are organized by one club on territory of two countries, like Rally Monte Carlo, for example, which, as you know, is also happening in France. But there is no participation of the other country national club or national ASN. And this is for the first time, and is a historical example of international cooperation of three countries, three clubs, to organize a World Rally Championship event. So we are quite proud on that, and we hope there will be other ASNs following our example.
Yeah, I can see that you've got the opening ceremony in Prague, and then a special stage in Prague as well, and that's on Thursday the 26th. It looks fantastic. Just looking at the map. Fantastic. And all the star drivers will be there, I take it.
Yeah, definitely. There are all the factory teams already testing in our country and preparing for the rally. And we have the ceremonial start at the Prague Castle, which is the most famous historical monument in Czech Republic. And we have the president of Czech Republic participating the ceremonial start. So really, this is very, very historical event for us.
Brilliant. And is this in your capacity with the national sort of motorsport federation in the Czech Republic, or was it also an FIA role that you're playing in helping to organize this?
No, this is purely my role of the president of Czech ASN. So we are, in fact, three presidents involved in that. Me as the Czech Federation president, and ADAC, the German club sport president, Gerd Enzer, and Oliver Schmerold, who is president of the Austrian club. So this is a cooperation of three clubs, and we are the organizers of the rally.
Fantastic. I mean, hopefully this is a model that other countries can aspire to. And obviously you're doing it in Europe, but perhaps it could happen in other continents as well. Yeah. Fantastic. Sure. Okay, brilliant. I mean, I'm intrigued because I had this vision. You talked about sort of, you're the president of the Czech ASM, and there's your German counterpart and your Austrian counterpart. What are the sorts of things that you are overseeing, or that obviously don't give too much away, but what's stressing you out with a week to go to running this rally? Like, what are the things on your to-do list?
Well, there's a lot of small things, of course, small issues we have to resolve. I expect, of course, there will be a lot of small problems, but I'm sure that we will be able to handle that. We are known as very good organizers of rally events on a national and European level. So we have people very experienced here organizing rally. So I'm quite confident we will manage to do all of that smoothly. My biggest worry was, of course, to ensure the finance for the event, and I was lucky enough to get some good support from the Czech government and from the city of Prague and from the regions where the rally will be run. So this is really crucial because the financial part is very important. So now I hope everything is gonna be smooth.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely have you in our thoughts, and I'll try and find out what channel it's going to be on, TV channel it's going to be on in the UK, and we'll definitely keep an eye out for you. Yeah, besides the
there
start
should
line.
be. I'm not sure which public channel in the UK, but obviously there is WRC TV, which is internet TV, which is run by the promoter of WRC. So everybody can follow that, and I hope everybody will be happy with that, and it will be a success.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed, and I'm sure it sounds like it will be. Just to break up the kind of the technical questions, we have kind of a bit of a fun question that we like to ask some of our guests, which is about a fantasy hot lap. So you get to pick the car, and you get to pick the sort of circuit or location that you want to drive it. So if you could pick, and then money would be no object, time machine, whatever you'd like, what car would you drive, and in what location or what circuit?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, I have really one circuit which I actually I was driving there some 10 years ago in GT3 car, and I think this circuit is really amazing, and it is now surprisingly a Formula One circuit. It's in the Netherlands, and it's Zandvoort, the circuit near to Amsterdam. This is an old style Formula One circuit. Which is very near to Sandy Beach, so there is a lot of sand on the track. And when I was there in GT3, I just was telling myself, I don't understand how it's possible that in past the Formula One cars were driving here. It's not possible. And I was always telling myself it's impossible to have an actual Formula One cars to have a race here. And now we have the Formula One cars race in Zandvoort. So this is really amazing. So certainly that would be my choice of the circuit. And as you know, I'm fan of this Lotus John Player Special. So if the money is not objection, and if there is some car in a museum from that team, that would be my dream to drive the Lotus John Player Special in Zandvoort.
And yeah, I think the two statistics that I noticed about Zandvoort as a circuit, particularly with Formula One, is I believe that it doesn't have parking for ticket holders. So you have to cycle or walk or use public transport, which I can't think of anywhere else in the world that has that. So that's incredible.
Yes. I think this is very special, but by some very special occasion, the Zandvoort is in the calendar. I think it's good because it's really old style track, and I like it very much. Well, very honestly, to be very honest, I think if there is not a problem of COVID, which made many things that seem to be impossible. So COVID made it possible at the end. Probably that if there is no COVID, it would be very difficult to have such circuits in the calendar. But here it is, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I mean that's a lovely segue because in 2020, and it was just before you took on your role at the World Motorsport Council, but you obviously had other roles in motorsport, Formula One, but other motorsport as well, managed to get back going and put on a show for people in what was a dark time. And you talked about perhaps COVID meaning that the sport, Formula One in particular, visited circuits that it wouldn't normally have done, Mugello, the track also in Portugal. Were you involved in motorsport in 2020, like in the kind of organization of any events? And do you remember that time and the effect that COVID had on the sport?
Of course, I remember that it was very hard time. I was involved not in the FIA and the let's say the global or the international level of motorsport, but we were having the same issues on a national level, and I think that was really these years were very critical for motorsport because we lost a lot of money income. It was critical for national federations. We lost sponsors, we lost government support, we lost the events, and I know that for many national clubs, it's a problem to recover from these losses even today. So I'm just glad that this is over, and I hope we will not be in the same crisis again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, clearly it impacted the entire world and sort of any industry that requires, I don't know, in-person events. It feels like, and let's call it entertainment or in-person entertainment. It feels like after the lockdowns, there's almost been a reaction that people want to go to these more often. And, you know, if you look at Formula One, for example, the attendance figures are record-breaking quite often. What would you put that down to? Do you think that is it people's human desire to kind of, if you tell them they can't leave their houses, they're going to, once they're allowed out, they're going to go out? Or do you think there's something special about motorsport and what we've witnessed in the last few years?
I would agree with you that people were just hungry after these years of lockdown. They're hungry for entertainment, and Formula One is an entertainment. Let's be honest. It's a motorsport, but also it is a show business. So you have all these VIPs, etc. People can meet, and it's a part of the entertainment business. That's true. Also, I think there were a few other aspects helping growth of Formula One, like the Netflix series that had an effect which I think nobody expected, but really it made Formula One very popular and made it attractive for many people who probably were not attracted so much before. And of course, we must say that Formula One is an excellent series. The management is doing a great job, and it's a big success. It's a big commercial success now, and it's growing. And this is fine. This is what we want. It's as we said, it's a pinnacle of our sport, and I just wish Formula One good luck and big development for the future.
Absolutely. And you talked about before, it was the sort of pinnacle of motorsport. And yeah, I think Drive to Survive has definitely brought a new fan base. Do you feel that in the Czech Republic? Do you see kind of a younger group of fans embracing motorsport now?
Yes, I must say, to my surprise, I can see it even here, and it's what is interesting is that it was an inspiration not only for Formula One fans, but for fans of motorsport in general. In our country, the most popular discipline is rally, so I must say that we can meet in our rally events fans who tell me, "Oh, I was watching Drive to Survive." And I say, okay, that was about Formula One. No difference. It's motorsport, rally is like Formula One. So it was good for popularization of all the motorsport, and that's really a good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, we've spoken to people in the US that are involved in IndyCar, and there's definitely been a trickle down for high octane sport. I mean, the thing for me, so I've watched Formula One, let's say, for about 30 years. And I had to say that the sort of 2021 season was probably the most entertaining end to end that I can remember at all. Would you agree? It was kind of back and forth and very competitive.
Yes, definitely. I think it was one of the most exciting years. But I must say also the seasons, although there was a dominance of Max Verstappen in later years, we could see many interesting races, a lot of overtaking maneuvers, and a lot of exciting situations. So I think it's very well managed, and now really it's nobody can say that Formula One races are boring. That's not true.
Okay, well, we've definitely recorded that. You've given the official line on that, and I agree. They're not boring. I think it depends who you're following, who you're supporting, and definitely if you look at the race for second place in the championship, it's still, or even in the constructors' championship, it's extremely competitive.
Yes, definitely, and there is, and you can even if you don't look at the very top of the field, of the grid, there is still a lot of interesting fighting, even in the middle of the field, and it's also exciting for the people. So I think it's on a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a question, and it might be a bit philosophical. What's your goal in motorsport governance, Jan? So obviously you're on the World Motorsport Council. Would you see that as a kind of a highlight or a pinnacle? Are you climbing? Are you wanting to go somewhere else? Do you have a goal?
Well, for me, the goal always was to be in the highest governance body, and this is what I achieved. And the reason why I wanted to be in that position is that I would like to help the development of the sport. And now maybe you will be surprised, but I will say, and I already said that it's not only about Formula One. Of course, Formula One is excellent; it is the top. But what I feel is that there are many disciplines which are also very interesting, and maybe they are not so medialized, maybe not so seen for the public, but also important for the growth of the sport. And maybe the advantage of these disciplines and championships is that they are affordable. So, for example, in our part of Europe, we have hill climb, which is very strong. Of course, it's not shining, and it's not with hundreds of millions of spectators on the TV every weekend. But we have a good field of 150, 200 cars, people who are just keen motorsport enthusiasts, and they participate this. They don't have a lot of money, but they are doing it, and they are fighting like the drivers in Formula One. We have very nice off-road events in autocross. We have big tradition in that, and this is also a motorsport, and I think. I feel like my mission, I would like to help to develop these disciplines and championships, because it's like a grassroots for our sport, and we have to work on grassroots. We have to develop that, and without that, we would never have the top disciplines like WRC or Formula One. It starts somewhere like. 5 levels down, and this is what needs to be supported, and we should take care about that. So I feel this is my mission.
Wow, fantastic. I mean, we're the UK, obviously Scotland has mountains, but I'm from England, and we're always jealous of countries that have mountain ranges and steep hills. So I'm sure that hill climb in the Czech Republic has a lot more potential than perhaps here it does. I don't know, but
yes, that's true. That's true. But on the other hand, there's a very strong historic racing in historic cars racing in England, and the UK is very famous, very very famous for that. And I think this is also a grassroots. Many people just race in historic cars, and also this discipline needs to have a good support.
Yeah. No, well, absolutely. I mean, motorsport in all its forms is as you say, a kind of a mix of sport, a mix of entertainment, participation, enjoyment for the fans. My question, before we kind of move on and think about the future and talk about sustainability. So you're obviously on the World Motorsport Council. Do you have a term length? Is it 2 years? Is it 4 years? How long have you got left?
Well, it's 4 years, and we are just in the middle of the term, so we still have 2 years to go.
Interesting. So, I mean, you I think, when did you take on the role? Sort of end of 2021.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. 2020. Yes, exactly.
How were you feeling? Did you go in person to a big event, or was it online? How did you get sworn in to be on the World Motorsport Council?
Oh, it's not really how to tell it. It's really about big events. There was actually, we had a lot of work to be done, and I think we are still in the middle of this big amount of work we have to do, because the FIA is actually in a situation that needs a kind of reform. We have to do a lot of things to arrange the FIA for the future, to prepare it for the future challenges. So I think these 2 years to come will be very very busy as the first 2 years were. But it's exciting work, and I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, it's fascinating. I think in There's a saying, I think it is attributed to one of the founding fathers of the US, that, there are two certainties in life, death and taxes. But subsequently in sort of leadership, leadership world, they say death, taxes, and change. So absolutely,
Yes.
change is with us in all its forms. Do you see kind of particular areas where the FIA is prioritizing that change, and where it wants to reform itself, and that you and your colleagues are working most at the moment?
Well, there is not some particular area that would be the top priority, but there is a lot of issues and a lot of aspects we have to work on, and it's starting from economy and finance, is going through Formula One. As you know, we have to negotiate new Concord agreement, and it's also going through, let's say, an optimization of the portfolio of the championships and disciplines. We have to find a way how to support these small disciplines, but still we have to reach our target, which was set in the beginning of our term, and it is to make the motorsport more affordable. There is an ambitious objective to double the motorsport participation. So we are very hardly looking the ways how to make it affordable for public, because as you know, motorsport is expensive, and we have to find a way how to sell people a cheap entry ticket to motorsport for kids, for children in karting or small off-road buggies, whatever. So and of course sustainability. Then that's another aspect. A lot of challenges we have to work on. I think maybe it will be for more than 2 years and and for more terms. It's a lot of pile of issues.
I was going to say, if at the beginning it was like your successful job interview, we've just conducted your successful job evaluation, and you've got so much on your plate. There's just so much. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I mean, what to mention there? You mentioned the Concord agreement, and it does make me think, because I think I saw, there might be legal reasons why you can't comment in detail, but I saw the FIA, I think they sort of approved Andretti Global's bid to be in Formula One, and that now goes to the Formula One group, and I'm sure the teams will have a view on that as well. It's a fascinating piece of news. We've had Mario Andretti, who's obviously Michael's father, and a real historic figure in global motorsport across many series. When I suppose when FIA is looking at the health of motorsport and the participation, you talked about the affordability from the public perspective. Are you also thinking about the sort of sustainability, from the participant perspective, and having, a healthy number of competitive teams in all of your series?
Yes, exactly. This is one of the issues we are now actually focusing. By the way, there is a meeting of the World Motorsport Council tomorrow and after tomorrow. So it's just, and I think it's one of the issues on the agenda. And as you say, we need to focus to support the disciplines and championship with sufficient number of participants, with sufficient attractivity for the people. Also, we have to think about economic balance of the championships and disciplines, and this is one part of this pile of issues I was talking about, and this is a job to be done. And I think this is exactly one of the issues we will discuss in next days.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. You're on the eve of the World Motorsport Council. We have your time. It's incredible. I won't keep you too much longer, but I'm very grateful.
No problem. No problem at all.
I almost wish that we could see, what you experience in the next couple of days. I'm sure it'll be extremely eye-opening for all of us. So you mentioned there sustainability, and of course, Formula One is looking at sustainable fuels. There is obviously the Formula E category, and it's been going and really growing and becoming incredibly attractive, for the last decade or so. How does sustainability look inside the FIA? Sort of, are there initiatives to do with the formula, the sort of series you run, or is it to do with the sustainability of getting the cars from A to B, running the circuits and so on? Like, what is sustainability when it comes to the FIA?
I think it's a complex approach. It's including also the logistics, as you say, but it's not only in Formula One and or Formula E. But if you take WRC with hybrid cars, for example, and sustainable fuel, we have, for example, the Rallycross World Championship with fully electric engines. We have. For example, the European truck racing with sustainable fuels. So we try to introduce this element into every championship, every series, step by step. Of course, somewhere it's possible to do it quickly. Somewhere it will take more time because it's more complex and complicated. So the approach is I would say, complex, and we try to be sustainable in all the aspects. And then please don't forget that the FIA has also a second pillar besides of motorsport, and it is the mobility pillar. Besides of the World Motorsport Council, there is also a World Tourism and Mobility Council, and we also have member clubs focused on general mobility. Which means also introducing sustainable fuels and cars and the sustainability idea into mobility besides motorsport. So this is really one of the key objectives of the FIA as whole.
I mean, yeah, your plate is very full, and to think of all the sustainability, mobility, affordability, and inclusion as well. We've had on the show, we've had some really prominent female racing drivers, largely on the US side, but they've been in W Series, they've been in kind of oval racing in the US. Do you see a role for the FIA in encouraging girls and women into motorsport as well?
For sure. This is also a very important aspect, and EDI is a very important issue for the FIA. We have the Women in Motorsport Commission in the FIA, and I think this is one of the most important program to support girls in participating the racing. And I think we are just trying to find the right way how to do that, because there was few ideas that the girls would like to have their own series, and finally it seems that this is not the case. And finally I think that the girls actually want to race together with boys. So we have to accommodate to that, and I support this. I think it's fine, and it's very good and very brave from the girls to measure their forces and their abilities with men. And we have a lot of grants and programs to support girls, and we are trying to find new opportunities. And we try to start with supporting the young girls in the children categories in karting or in off-road disciplines, because we believe it's necessary to start in early age. Also, we invest, for example, to some medical research that would lead to some ways how to balance the differences between the physiology of the body of a man and a woman. There are some scientific studies which describe how this can be balanced. So I think there is a lot of efforts from the FIA to make motorsport also accessible for women, for girls, and to make them competitive with men. And I think this is correct, and we have to continue in that.
Wow, I mean, I didn't even know about that point around physiology, and it sounds like there's a lot of work going on. So congratulations.
This is very, very interesting, actually, and of course I'm not a physician, but it seems that obviously you have differences between the body of a man and a woman, but there are ways how to eliminate these inconveniences, for example, in construction elements of a car. So this is maybe a way how to make the chances more balanced, and this is a way how to have a field mixed with men and women, and I think that would be the right solution and the good solution for motorsport.
Okay. Well, as we draw to a close, before we go, we have quite a fun question at the end. But I'm always fascinated in how people, what people learn on their journey and what makes them successful. So I suppose my question to you, Jan, is what have you learned to date in your career in motorsport governance?
Well, this this is a difficult question. I learned a lot, of course, because when you start to work in I would say it's like a sporting politics. It's a strange politics, but it is a politics. Also in sporting organization on national and international level. I think that one has to learn to discuss, to search for a consensus and to reach consensual decisions which maybe don't fulfill 100% of oneself expectations, but have support of the majority and of for example, of all the other members of the World Motorsport Council. So I think this is something I learned, and this is very useful, and this is the way how to make effective government's decisions. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that is interesting, that kind of art of compromise that enables decision making, and not to get too geopolitical, but if you look at kind of multilateral bodies globally, as a planet, we're probably finding it much more difficult now to reach consensus on big issues. So yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, not easy, but this is the way to go.
Absolutely. So that's really interesting to hear about that lesson. And what would you say to someone who's aspiring to follow a path similar to yours over, maybe they don't come from a legal background, or they do, but they're looking to get into motorsport governance? What advice would you give?
Well, I think it would be the same advice as you can give to a racing driver in beginning of his career, which is the advice I give to my 8-year-old son now, who is starting to race. And the advice is, first, you must be ready. You must be well prepared for everything what may happen. And second, never give up. You can never give up on your way, and you never know what may happen. And even if you find yourself on the last position of the field, you never know that in the rest of the race you can still advance. Maybe the others will make a mistake, and you can still be on the podium. So don't give up. That's the most important message.
Okay, brilliant. Never give up.
Yes.
I think we've seen that in a few races in the last few years. The unthinkable has happened. So look, this is the last question, and it's really, really important. So Jan, I'm just going to ask, first of all, do you like pizza? Is that something you enjoy?
Oh yes, yeah. Why not? I do.
Okay, so here it is. Yes or no? Pineapple on pizza?
No.
Oh, I love it. Direct with the no. Brilliant. Georgie's going to be upset because she loves the pineapple on pizza.
Sorry for that. I'm sorry for that, guys.
It's okay. You're on the same side as Mario Andretti. So if you're on the same side and you're in motorsport, you're in the right group. There we go.
Okay, that's good.
How about this? If someone had ordered pineapple on pizza and it was just there and they offered it to you, would you accept it, or is it more on principle? You're just no?
Well, I would probably take the pineapple out of the pizza and just eat the rest.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a strong view. Brilliant. Well, we get these insights into personalities. You're very determined, and stick to what you want. Brilliant.
Okay.
Well, Jan, thank you so much for your time. Anything else you want to add? I mean, how can people follow you? Have you got social media that they can follow you, or how can we find out?
I think the best is my Instagram, which is something I try to update and try to inform people about what's new in motorsport, and it's under my name, so easy to be found. And that's it. So, and I thank you very much. Thank you very much for invitation for this very interesting podcast. It was a pleasure for me, and you are doing excellent job, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Well, best of luck with the World Motorsport Council coming up tomorrow, and probably would have happened by the time this airs. Good luck with the Central European Rally. We'll keep an eye out for that, and we'll look for you. And yeah, we'll follow you on Jan Stovicek at Instagram. If you're listening at home and you've got this far into the podcast and you don't follow us at Strip the Dip on any social media platform, please do. Please subscribe to this podcast and comment and give us your thoughts. So that concludes today's episode. Everyone have a fantastic day wherever you are. I've been your unusual co-host, F1 Blag. Good night.